Welcome in, Holy. I can't read all the letters in the. It's Theolokos. How you doing? Theotokos? Is that a T or a K or L?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. It's Holy Theotokos. It's named after the Blessed Mother. I was also going by Ralph on the YouTube. So first of all, I appreciate you allowing me to come and speak. Try not to preach or pontificate. I just want to make sure I have your point down clear. Do you believe that there is any God? What is your debate like your basic worldview? What is the foundation?
Well, I'm an atheist. I don't have any evidence of a God to believe in. If there was evidence for a God, I would certainly believe in the God. I think when it comes to the formalized gods, like the gods of Buddhism, the gods of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, I think those are gods that we can pretty much prove don't exist. I think there are some
Okay.
gods that you can't really prove don't exist. Like if you believe in like a deistic god, I would say like these are gods that are hard to disprove, but at the same time, it's kind of useless because the amount of people who believe in some deistic form of God is incredibly tiny. And I would also add that if you believe in a God that's minimal, like it does so little, it's just a deistic entity, that there's almost no distinction between a deistic God and just a natural force that does the same thing as the deistic God, but minus like some of the properties of God, like having intelligence. But sorry, are
Yeah.
you a Catholic?
Yes. Yeah. I'm a Roman Catholic convert.
Sure.
Because my problem with your worldview would be that if you don't believe in a god, you have no justification for. I heard earlier when you were talking. I forgot it was the guy in the beginning. It was when the I
SF
forgot his name.
man. Yeah, you think that atheists
Yes.
aren't allowed to have morals?
No. You 100% have morals. It's the problem is that you don't have any justification for your morals because your morals are entirely relative and subjective to your emotions.
Well, no, they're not subjective to my emotions. They're subjective to my intellect, right? So,
Okay.
certainly our emotions play a part in our decision making process, but I don't think morals are subject just to our emotions. And I
No,
don't think that in your worldview you really have objective morals, anyways. What you really have
okay.
is divine commands. And I don't see why, like, I would have, like, even if I believed in your worldview, I don't know how you connect obligation to follow God's commands with morality. It just seems like you just follow God's commands because otherwise, you have the threat of heaven or hell looming over you.
Yeah, so you can say that ultimately your morals are connected to your intellect, but there are people who I mean I'm not trying to question your intellect, but I'm sure we can agree there are people who are smarter than both of us, who would have different morals.
Well, I'm
So
sure.
just because you
So,
it, so there you
so
go. So then
well,
you just agreed they're not objective; they're entirely subjective.
I literally never said they were objective. It's not my position. I don't think objective morals exist, which brings me to point number two, which is in order to claim that objective morals exist, you actually have to demonstrate that they do. You can't just say, I don't like subjective morals, therefore objective morals. That's not how that works. You have to actually
I never said that
demonstrate,
wasn't my argument.
you actually have to demonstrate that objective morals exist. Can you do that?
Here's your problem. The
No.
problem
Oh,
with your
try again.
worldview.
Try again. Can you
You can let me finish my.
demonstrate? I'm not going to let you finish because I asked you a question, then you ran from it, right? So my question
No, I didn't run
requires
from
an
it.
answer, not a complaint,
Okay.
right?
So
So
repeat your question.
can you demonstrate, prove, or provide an argument that results in objective morals being proven?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
Yes, you
that's
can.
what I'd be interested to hear because before you
Okay.
complain about
Yeah.
my framework, you actually have to demonstrate that objective morals exist.
Yeah. So I'm not complaining at what. So what I'm arguing from is I'm not arguing from an evidentialist. I'm arguing from the transcendental argument for God. What I'm trying to
Oh,
say
well, we never
is
heard
that
tag
if
before. This
you
is going to be new.
I know, what can I say? I love making a fool of myself.
So, what would be the
What
argument that would demonstrate that morals are objective?
so if I could just say, uh, before talking about morality, I can totally get into how there's an objective morality. The thing is that you're saying that the objective morality is bad and all this
Nope,
stuff,
I didn't
but
say that.
you're appealing
Nope,
to
never said
yourself.
that.
Okay, fair. Well, then I'll move on to my next point, would be is that
So
as somebody who doesn't believe in
what I need
God,
from
you
you
have no.
before you complain about morals is to demonstrate that your moral system even exists. Demonstrate that objective morals exist, and then I'll care about objective
Okay.
morals.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. I'll do that. So we have things that are immaterial, like logic
I disagree.
and reason. Okay. You disagree on that, but I mean, I would say that you can't disagree that we have logic or reason because you're using it to your very point.
I disagree. I think those are
And
languages
because those
invented by
things
the
are,
human brain. They don't
let me
exist
finish.
transcendently.
I've let you finish. If you could just let me finish my point, I'd be more than happy to let you speak. You asked me to prove my point. I'm trying to do that. Because these things are immaterial, they are not material. Therefore, they are not a product of the material universe or outside the material universe. Therefore, we know that immaterial things can exist. There must be an immaterial creator who put those things into motion.
Adorable. None of that's true. So first you would have to
Okay.
demonstrate that logic exists and it's not just an abstract concept developed by the brain. So saying that it
Okay.
exists immaterially is a cop out. What we do know is that languages exist and the laws of logic, numbers, English language, these are all inventions of the human brain to make abstract concept.
Okay. Uh, does absolute truth exist?
I don't think truth exists at all. Again, truth is a description,
Okay, so
right?
that's an absolute truth.
So
You just said. You just said that.
when we say that something is true, what we're saying is that the claim being made seems to be in accordance with reality. So truth itself is a description. It's not a thing. Have you tried
Is
these
the
talking
statement?
points with an actual atheist before? Is this your first time?
You know what? I just checked ChatGPT and I said, I'm going up against an atheist. I really need my 5 minutes of fame. Can you give me something to talk about?
Sounds about
Do
right.
you believe before humans existed, right? So I want to go from your worldview. Before humans existed, when we were just, I don't know, primordial pond scum, was the sun a star? Was that still an objective statement?
The sun being the same material entity that it is now seems to be
Answer the
true, but
question. Was
truth
this?
isn't a thing
It
that
was
exists.
true.
Truth
Okay.
is a description of something, right? So when we say that it's
So, but what
true,
he
we're saying that what we're positing is in accordance with reality. Truth itself doesn't exist no more than a transcendental chair exists. There's no transcendental chair floating around in the universe. Truth is a description of something. That's it.
but see, the problem is though is that it does exist.
It
That
doesn't.
objective truth does. Okay, well, it has to. Otherwise, your worldview is
Nope.
going to fall apart.
It
You have
doesn't.
then you have no base. So but if there's no truth, there's no logic, there's no reason, and how are you using your points to make an argument if they don't
Truth,
exist?
logic, and reasons are descriptions of ways we make comparisons to things, right? So when I say I'm holding a glass ball, we would say that claim is true. The word true is acting as a description. We're saying that me holding the ball, saying that I'm holding a ball is in accordance with reality. And that comparison between my claim and reality, when they line up, we call that true. It's a description. It's not a thing that exists.
No, but it's still immaterial.
No, it's not.
Yes, yes, it is.
No,
It's
no, it's not.
these are the rules of logic a real thing?
The rules of logic are language, just like the word truth, just like the number five. They're all languages invented for the brain to do abstractions.
So could I change the rules of logic then? Could I change the rule of non-contradiction?
You could, but the question would be whether or not they're in accordance with reality. Like you can change any of the laws of logic. In fact, some of the laws of logic even break down when you get into quantum physics. They don't actually hold true on the quantum level.
For the laws of logic?
Yeah.
They don't.
Yep, that's true.
What is what is your basis then for reality? What is the foundation of reality?
The foundation of reality is that we exist.
So it just is essentially is your argument.
Yeah, it always will be, and it always has been. We
Yeah,
have
so
no
that's not an argument.
we have no evidence that there was ever nothing. Do you have evidence that there was once nothing?
Well, what do you mean by nothing? There was no material world, or what?
Yeah, what's the evidence that there was nothing?
You mean you would have? I would say. I mean, there isn't evidence for that.
Okay, so what we know from science is that you can't get something from nothing. What we know from science is matter and energy can't be created or destroyed. So it seems like the most logical explanation of this is that there was never nothing.
But so are you saying that the world was like an infinite regress? It's always existed.
Yeah. And now here's what I can tell you is that in your worldview, you know deep down in your bones that somehow infinite regresses can exist. But I will tell you this, you will spend the next 5 weeks trying to explain why that is the case, and you'll never be able to do it. I've talked to hundreds of
Yes, I
philbros
can tell
just
you
like
right
you.
now.
Hold on. I've talked to hundreds of philbros just like you. Everyone thought they were smarter than the last, and not one of them, never, even a guy with a PhD, has an
Oh
argument.
my gosh, you had a PhD.
Even
Oh,
for a guy with a PhD, has a valid argument
oh,
for why
PhD.
infinite regresses aren't possible. So just so
Oh
you
no, not a
know,
PhD.
you're going to fail like everyone who came before
I
you.
don't know. I don't know what to do, Lord. He has a PhD. I can say that because if there's an infinite a universe that is, or an infinite moments in time, it's not possible because then we would
Why?
never be able to reach this moment in time, and
And
it's
you'd be
always existed.
wrong,
And how am I wrong?
because this moment is a time is a finite fixed point on the timeline.
Thank you. You just said it's finite. You just proved I'm
No,
right.
this moment is a finite fixed line on an endless timeline. So a moment is a finite moment, right? Infinity is an infinite series of moments. The fact that we're living
Yes,
in
but
a moment only demonstrates that, in fact, the moment we're living in is defined. That's it.
yes, but what you don't seem to realize is that there are an infinite number of times before this point.
That's
So we
right.
would never be able to reach this very point.
No, no, this point is on the timeline. So
No, it's not
just
because
because you don't have a starting point doesn't mean that you're not going to have finite points on the timeline. Every point on the timeline is a finite point.
wait,
So 5 minutes from now is a finite
so
point.
there's a there's,
5 minutes from now is a finite point. We can measure between that point and this point because we got two finite points on the timeline.
okay, but again, what you're failing to realize is that if we have an infinite number of moments, you would never be able to reach the point that we're at
And
right
why
now
not?
because it's infinite. Because you would be infinitely getting closer and closer and closer. It's like
You would not.
the curve on a graph.
Nope.
It can't hit the line, but it gets close.
I know you think that you're making a good point, but you're not. Like, all you're saying is that it can't be true because you haven't actually
No,
demonstrated.
all I'm saying.
So every point on the timeline is a finite point. Every point, every single one of them, and there's going to be in a flow of time, one point after another on the timeline. Every point is on the timeline somewhere.
Okay, so would is your so it would can I say that one of your arguments would also be that in order for something to be true, it has to be scientifically true, it has to be proven scientifically real.
No, I mean, there are things that are true, even though we may not be able to explain why they're true. But my point is that if we believe in things, true or not, I think we should have like some kind of a justification for the belief system, right? So if I said, I believe that there's actually aliens in the Andromeda galaxy, right? There are extraterrestrials living over there. Listen, it might be true that there's alien life over there. I have no evidence of it, so I don't really have a reason to believe it.
Yeah, I feel like the what you're I feel like you're saying that there could be you're saying that we may be living in or we are living in a universe that it has an infinite time, right? Is that what you were am I stating your point correctly?
Well, I don't even think that's a good way to state my point, although
Okay.
if you believe that matter always existed, you would then fundamentally believe that time always existed, because time seems to be a emergent property from matter actually existing. Um,
And do you believe that?
I personally do. I believe that time seems to be an emergent property of matter. In fact, that even bolsters my case, right? Because I think your concept of time is like something that exists transcendentally, and that's not actually my concept of time.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to just say is that I think I would say that my viewpoint makes more sense because I'm going from the uncaused cause where you're just saying no, it just is material. The material world and time has just always existed.
Your uncaused cause just is. Like, you haven't fixed it by going to an uncaused cause that has no
So then now you have
explanation,
you.
nor does it even need to be necessary, right? So in my worldview, not only do I not have any evidence for your uncaused cause, I don't have any reason to believe that it has a need. There's no need for an uncaused cause in my worldview. And the other thing is, even if I had the worldview that there was once nothing and now there's something, I certainly don't have any reason to believe that the so-called uncaused cause is some sort of sentient agent that just wanted to like be in harmony with some creation that he will torture for eternity in hell.
Yeah, okay, so you can say that, but you don't actually have a reason to tell me why eternal torture is, if that was even true. You don't have a reason to tell me why that's objectively wrong.
Again, I don't believe in objective morals. All I can tell you is
Yeah,
what it
that's fine.
is. All I can tell you is what is subjectively coherent in my worldview. So, like, if you
Exactly,
believe in a
that's fine.
God that is omnibenevolent, omnipotent, so he's all powerful, he's all loving, and he's also all knowing, which I assume that's the God you believe in because you're giving me like philosophy 101 philbro arguments. So if that's the God you believe in, all I have to do is look at your book and ask myself, is the behavior of this God parsimonious with those characteristics? And it's actually just not. So
Yeah,
the
so
idea
long as
that
it
a God
lines up
is
with
all
what
loving, all powerful, and all knowing, yet he sends people to hell, whether you think they're tortured for eternity or only for a time period, to me seems to break this idea of the omni God. It seems logically incoherent.
again, this is an appeal to yourself,
It's
right?
not.
So that's fine. It is because
It's not.
you've already said that morality is
Do you
subjective.
think logical
You decide
contradictions exist?
what is morality. Yes, I do think that they exist, but
Oh, like what?
that's besides the point.
Can you name one?
What you're telling me is
Can you
that
name one?
I think God should do what I want him to
No, I didn't
do
say that at
because I feel
all.
a certain way.
Nope. It has
You
nothing to
did
do
you
with
did
my. It has nothing to do with my preferences. It has to
Yeah,
do with the logical
100%
properties of
everything did because
God.
you just told me
So holy,
you just said when I
holy,
read
stop
this
talking
book.
for 5 seconds because you didn't listen to what I said. Has nothing to do with my
Okay,
preferences and everything to do with the definitions of your God. If your God is omnibenevolent, he's all good and all loving, that entails that he doesn't cause unnecessary suffering. Is that a logical entailment of being
that is
omnibenevolent?
see, but this is your problem. Is that what you're
It's a yes
doing?
or no.
You are using.
No crying. I don't care about your crying. I ask you a yes or no question. Don't crash out. Give me a yes or no. Is it logically entailed, being omnibenevolent, that you don't cause unnecessary pain and unnecessary suffering? Is that entailed in the
You're a
worldview?
coward for you. You're a coward. You're literally muting your opponent. You're a
I'm
coward.
muting you because you don't stop talking because you're a child, right?
No,
So
because you're a coward.
I asked you an easy yes or no question and you ran from it like a little chicken. So yes
No,
or
I
no,
didn't.
is
You're
it
scared.
logically entailed in your worldview that being omnibenevolent means that you don't create unnecessary suffering?
What do you mean by unnecessary suffering?
It means whatever you want it to. It's any amount of
No, see,
suffering.
no,
It's any
that
amount
doesn't
of
matter. It doesn't
suffering
matter
that
what
is
I want
any
it to mean. It matters what it
holy
actually
pay
means.
attention. This is why you're getting muted. So
I'm trying. I took ADHD meds. They're not working.
unnecessary suffering has a definition, doesn't it?
Yes,
What does it mean?
I would say so.
What's the definition of unnecessary?
It's a good question. I would have to think about it. An unnecessary suffering. Well, I
No,
would say
unnecessary
I
anything.
struggle. Can I just? I would say that I struggle with that idea of unnecessary suffering because I'm going by my own viewpoint of what I believe to be necessary or unnecessary, and I am not the sole arbiter of truth. I am not the sole arbiter of what is necessary and unnecessary
I'm not
in my
asking you
life.
to divide which suffering is necessary and which one's not. I'm asking you for definitions.
But in order
So,
to define it,
so unnecessary suffering is suffering that isn't required, right? So if it's necessary, that means it is required. It couldn't be any other way. So when we talk about necessary suffering, it's suffering that couldn't be any other way. You have to have it. Like, for example, the prick of a needle to get your vaccine. Yes, it stinks. No one likes getting pricked with a needle, but it's necessary suffering to get you to the goal, right? So unnecessary suffering would be like if a doctor walked in with that same needle, but he punched me in the nose and then he gave me the shot. Well, the punch in the nose wasn't necessary, was it?
well, okay, but I just want to.
Holy, it was a
I
yes
would
or no
say.
question. Yes or
Well,
no? Is the punch in the nose
I'm trying.
necessary?
I'm working on it. I would say that I cannot know unnecessary versus necessary suffering.
So if a doctor walks
my
in, if a
question
doctor
I
walks
ask,
in the room and punches you in the nose to give you a shot, you don't know if that's necessary?
well, I would certainly think it's unnecessary.
Okay, so there is some occasions where you know if suffering's necessary.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yes, I would.
Okay, so necessary suffering
Well,
must be required to get you to the goal. Like the end goal requires the suffering to be along the way. If any point in time, if you can achieve your goal without the suffering, then it becomes unnecessary. Do you understand?
yeah, I just want to ask, and again, forgive me if I'm getting a little excited. I want to say I thank you for allowing me to come and speak with you. I really appreciate it. Can you tell me why is suffering bad?
Well, to me, bad is a subjective worldview, a subjective term in my worldview. But in your worldview, it's not. You think that there is such a thing as actual good and bad. That's why I'm doing an internal critique on your worldview. My worldview is irrelevant right now.
No, but I'm just saying you have a problem where you can't actually.
I do
Like
have a problem.
for you,
It's a critique on your worldview, and alls I need are the definitions and your actual worldview. So in your worldview, you believe that being omnibenevolent requires that you only do the necessary suffering and not the unnecessary suffering. Do you agree?
uh, let's say I'd have to honestly look into it some more, but let's say I
You
do
don't
agree. Let's
know?
say I'd like to. Well, I want to make sure that I'm answering your questions faithfully. I don't want to just spit stuff out. So I would say that there is, uh, I would say suffering wasn't originally in the divine plan, but due to human free will, it entered into the world,
Okay,
and
so
through it, God has redeemed it and allowed good to come from it.
God does or doesn't want suffering.
I don't think God originally didn't want suffering.
Okay, so God doesn't want suffering. Now, did God create a world that includes suffering?
No, God didn't create a world that originally was suffering.
I didn't ask about
Because of human
originally.
error. No, he didn't create a world that had suffering. No.
Okay, so let's talk about natural disasters, hurricanes, flash floods,
Right.
volcanoes, you name it, right? Who
Okay.
created those
What?
things?
Okay. That's a good question. I guess you would. I guess you could say. You know what? You know what? I'll say. I don't believe this, but I'll say God created that tornado that tore down Grandma's house.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. But why is it bad that Grandma's house got destroyed?
So again,
According to
in your
you,
worldview, it's
according to,
I know you want to pivot so hard away from your worldview, but I'm
I
not
know
going
I
to
really
let you.
do.
So you're never going to let it
Okay.
happen. I don't know if you know this. I've been doing
Just
this.
get scared.
I've been doing this longer and with more intelligent people than you. I will never let you
I bet you
pivot.
have.
So
Oh, because you're a coward.
what we're doing is critiquing your actual worldview, and I'm demonstrating to you why it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. So in your worldview, you believe in a God that doesn't want suffering. He has the capability of designing the world without the suffering, specifically suffering that's not related to free will. We understand that if you have free will, a human being might say something to another human being that could hurt their feelings. This seems to be what we would call necessary suffering because it's required for free will to exist. We're not talking about that. We're talking about natural disasters where
Yeah.
100,000 people a year are executed on average, seemingly at
Why is that a bad?
random.
Why is it an objectively bad thing?
Again, I've never said it was in my worldview. We're talking about your worldview. And again, I'll never let you pivot. I don't care how many times you pivot, I'll never let you do it. You will waste all of your time up here pivoting and it will go nowhere. So if you actually want to have a productive
It just
conversation,
goes to show that
then
you're not.
you need to actually stop pivoting because we're doing an internal critique on your worldview right now. So in your
Yeah.
worldview, if God causes unnecessary suffering, that means that he's not all good. He might be maximally good. He might be the best good, but he can't be all good, right? He also can't be all just, which contradicts Deuteronomy 32:4. So does God, right? Does he
Why are
create
you
the
using the Bible if you don't
does,
believe in the Bible?
because you do, it's an internal critique. You should know this. So in your worldview, the Bible means something, not in mine. So in your worldview, it seems that you have a bit of a problem because God does cause unnecessary suffering via natural disasters, unless you think they're necessary. Do you think they're necessary or unnecessary?
I can't say.
You
I
can't
don't know
say if
why.
natural disasters are necessary?
You also can't tell me why they're bad or good.
Again, in my worldview, it's a subjective. It's bad. I think
So,
they're bad.
so
In your
it doesn't
worldview,
matter. It doesn't matter what you think, though, right?
holy,
You're
pay
judging.
attention.
Here's the thing.
Holy, I'm
You're
not judge.
judging my
Holy,
morals.
I'm not doing anything holy. I'm not judging your God by my morals. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I didn't say you were.
What I'm saying is
Relax,
in your
relax.
framework, the God you worship doesn't line up. There are contradictions between the book, the reality we live in, and the God you've described. There are contradictions, and I don't believe that contradictions, unless we're talking about quantum physics, I don't think contradictions can exist. So I'm saying that your particular God results in contradictions, which is why I don't believe that your God is real.
Okay, but according to you, contradictions, all the laws of logic and everything are just made up by the human mind. So ultimately, it's all up to your own interpretation anyway.
Well,
you are your own
all
God.
Observations of reality are up to interpretation. All we're doing is interpreting the reality around us. You're never going to get away from that. So like, that's a nonsense statement. The reality is,
no, I am, because again,
the reality is that the God you believe in, has logical contradictions, and in your worldview, you don't believe that logical contradictions can exist. Unless you do. Do you think not in my worldview? Again, in your worldview, can logical contradictions exist?
No.
Okay, but you've got one. You've got a big logical contradiction with your God, because your God,
you think I do? I don't.
because your God is omnibenevolent, but he causes unnecessary suffering. If the natural disasters are necessary, then you need to be able to explain what they're necessary for.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say they're necessary. I would say that
they're unnecessary. Okay.
Yes, they're unnecessary.
So then we agree. God causes unnecessary suffering, which means he's not all good, and most likely we can even say he's not all just.
Oh my gosh. Well, you see, the problem you're running into again is that you're judging it based on your own subjective.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. This is a definitional argument. I don't know how hard this is for you. I know you can't listen very well, but this is an argument based on definitions. That's it. This has nothing to do with what I think is bad. This is
yes, it does.
Holy, pay attention. These are definitions you agreed to. You agree to the meanings of these definitions, and you've got to the point where you've agreed that God does unnecessary suffering. And you told me you agreed with the definition that being omnibenevolent requires that you don't cause unnecessary suffering. Do you want to change your opinion on that? Do you change your mind?
No, what I want to say is that you have no justification for whether or not something is wrong.
I don't have to. It's an internal critique on your worldview. No, wrong again. Nope, wrong again. Nope, you're wrong every time you say it. This is an internal critique on your worldview. The only thing that matters right now.
You say that Christianity is a.
Listen, I need you to focus up, because right now you're doing a really poor job of defending your faith. You could probably do a better job. You don't sound stupid. You just sound like you're stubborn, okay? So pay attention. The entire argument we're having about necessary suffering has nothing to do with my opinion. Not a damn thing. My opinion means shit in this argument. The only thing that matters are the definitions and the meanings of words. That's it, right? And you agreed to the definitions that we started out with. You agreed that you can't be all loving and all good and then also cause unnecessary suffering. And then you said that God causes unnecessary suffering. That's literally just a contradiction. Do you see how that's...
I didn't say cause. I said allow.
Okay. He causes them. So you want to change it to allow. We'll go to allow, and I'll demonstrate to you why allow isn't a workable theory either. Okay. So does God allow, or does he cause natural disasters? Just where are you? You say allow?
I can't fully know that, but I would say
you can't fully know.
I'd say allow.
Yeah. Okay. Who created the earth?
Be a smart ass.
Who created the earth?
God created the earth.
Okay. Did he create the earth knowing that there would be natural disasters?
Yes.
Okay. Could he have created the earth without natural disasters?
Not without humanity to cause sin to enter.
Wrong again. We'll try this again from the beginning.
Nope, I'm not wrong again.
Could God create the earth in a way that when Adam and Eve sinned, that natural disasters were not a consequence?
I guess so.
Oh, okay. That means they're not necessary anymore. See, you did it again. God creates natural disasters. He's the only one to blame for them, and they're not necessary.
Okay.
See, all of your time studying these bad philosophical arguments, all of your time watching William Lane Craig, none of it works. The minute you talk to an atheist, it's spent
No, I don't really like him.
at least five conversations in. These are bad arguments,
Well,
Holy. You're smart. You can do
yeah.
better than this.
Okay, I appreciate it. If you just could try to refrain from just sounding kind of like a little bit of a jerk. Um, what my okay, so we've discussed my worldview. Can I now discuss problems that I see with your worldview?
You're more than welcome to, but keep in mind, I don't think you actually know what my worldview is.
Okay, so your worldview would be that there is no divine creator. Everything just is. Everything has just always existed. But logic, reason, and truth only exist within the human mind.
They're just abstract languages that we created. That's it.
So then there is no objective truth outside of that. Your truth is your truth.
Wrong. No. So what I believe is that there is an objective reality, but we have to use our own minds to figure out what the objective reality is. And because we're using our own minds to figure out what reality is, that means we're accessing the objective reality subjectively. But we have no reason to believe, like, unless you really believe that we're brains in a vat, I think we're all starting at the same axiom that there is a reality objectively.
Okay, but you just said objectively there is a reality.
No, I didn't say that. I said we are interacting with an objective reality subjectively.
There you go, objective reality.
So I don't think you know how words work. So I'm not making an objective claim about reality. I'm saying that there is, as far as I'm aware. But Holy, you can't respond to anything I'm saying if you're talking while I'm talking. I don't know why you keep doing this.
Neither can you. So what you're saying is that there is an objective reality, which is an absolute truth.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. So what you're trying to do is you went through, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, and you think you've got these really fun gotcha questions you're going to pull out, and they're not going to work on me. I already know it. I read the book when I was 16. It was a shit book then. It's a shit book now. These dumb philosophical gotchas don't actually work here. So what I said was that as far as we know, we are operating on the axiom that there is an objective reality. It's not just a figment of our imaginations. We're not brains in a vat. That's something that you and I take as axiomatic, right? We're okay with that, yes, right? What I said, hold on, stop talking. What I said.
I just told you I'm okay with it. Relax, buddy.
You don't have to talk while I'm talking. You can just not talk and listen. So what I said was that seems that we're interacting with that reality subjectively because it requires our brain to do it, right? So even though I believe there's an objective reality, the only thing we know about reality is in fact subjective.
Is that objectively true?
It's a belief.
Is it okay? So so it's not objectively true then?
Again, I don't believe in objective truths. You're asking a nonsensical question. I just told you that the reality we're operating in is subjective. I believe my claims about reality are subjective claims.
Could I say then that your belief that there is not an objective truth is an objective truth?
No, it's subjective.
And then but it's not because it's objective.
It is. It's subjective.
How is it subjective if I'm saying that you have said?
Because I'm not saying anything objectively. Again, you keep wanting me to make objective claims, and I've not made one. No, I told you 3 times now that my claims about reality are subjective because I have to use my mind to get there. The minute I have to use my mind to make observations about reality, all of those observations are subjective. They are subject to my brain.
Okay. So they're subject to your brain, and your brain is can you trust your brain for all understandings, and is your brain proven to be, would you say, reliable?
I think that in the world we live in, the brain is proven to be mostly reliable, not completely reliable. It does fail from time to time, but that seems to be true in both of our worldviews.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to go back to you said that there's no objective logic, right? It just exists within the human mind, right?
Yeah, it's a language we invented. It describes the world we live in.
So would you be okay with somebody else saying something like, I'm asking this, I want to be honest and fair. Would you be okay with somebody saying, I think that the sky is actually black today, or or 2 + 2 = 5? Would you say that, okay, that's fine, that's just your rules of logic?
No, I would say, can you demonstrate that to be the case? And then most likely, they either would give it up and say, okay, I was just joking, or they would go on and embarrass themselves trying to demonstrate that it's true. Now, you can redefine how numbers work. You're welcome to do that. Listen, if you redefine 1 and 2 and 3, sure, you can redefine them to get to that conclusion. But using the
Yeah.
defined numbers that we agreed on their meanings, no, you can't do it.
Yeah, well, I guess my concern would just be that if there is no if logic is just subjective, then why should anyone's argument have any water over anybody else's? If logic exists purely in the mind, then if a human being had a different shaped mind and came to a different conclusion of logic, well then surely that must be okay because it's based on their brain chemistry that's developed differently.
No, so logic is observed throughout our species. Like, so we observe that there are ways the universe behaves, right? So a long time ago, someone said, listen, it seems to be the case that something either exists or it doesn't exist. It doesn't seem that anything exists and doesn't exist at the same time. And we just said that
Yeah.
seems to always be the case. Therefore, it's a rule in logic. Like logically, something either exists or it doesn't. It doesn't do both. Now, that claim, listen, we could discover that that doesn't always hold true. That there's an exception to that rule, right? But it'd be up to somebody to demonstrate that there's an exception.
But that would be using our laws of logic that we have
No, using
right
proof.
now.
Using proof.
Using
You'd have to point to something and say, look, that something over there, it exists and doesn't exist at the same time. And then we could examine it and say, is that the case? Does it exist and not exist at the same time?
also like scientifically prove it.
Yeah, yeah. The laws of logic were made through observation about the world.
Yeah. Um, do how do we know that in order for something to be true, it has to be scientifically true?
I never said that, so I don't know why you're
No,
putting
no,
that
I
on
know,
me.
no, I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you. Like, do we, in order for something to be true, does it have to be scientifically true?
I don't know what you even mean by scientifically. Scientific process is just the process of observing and testing. That's it.
Yeah. So
So
what I'm
everything is
asking you.
science. Like if I went out and I said it's better to cut your grass at 2.5 inches than 3 inches, that's me invoking science. Now I'm saying that listen, I'm going to make a claim about grass height and and then go out and observe if that is the case. That's just how science works. So like we've been doing science ever since we've existed.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't think that you can you get any I wouldn't say truth claims, but can you get any value claims from science? Like, well, this is better for you to do because we've scientifically proven it.
Like what?
Well, I mean, I would just say like, if somebody said, well, I think that it's good to, I don't know, I'm making something up. It's good to drink bleach, because it'll it's good for you, but it's like, but that kills you.
Do you
And
think
they
we know
might
how
say,
to test
well,
that?
yeah. But what I would say is, I mean, I'm just saying, according to their worldview, they might say like, well, this it's subjective whether or not it's really good for me. I mean, science is
The
only shown for studying the laws of nature. I don't think that you can get an ought
the claim
from
is
science alone.
subjective. Do you think there's a way to test it?
If a claim is subjective, is there a way to test it? I don't think so.
No. So there's no way to test if bleach is bad for you if you ingest it.
No, but you can't tell me whether or not I
Did you
drink
vote for
bleach is
Trump?
good or bad.
Are you part of his medical
Um,
advisory team?
I don't know if he's hiring. I mean, I'll look into it. No, but what I'm saying is
But
that you
if you're
can't get
telling
an
me
ought.
that there's no way to test whether or not something's bad for you, you're living in an alternate universe than I am. I'm not
What
living in that
what
universe.
why? So, but if I drink bleach and I die from it, why is that a bad thing?
I never said it was a bad thing. I'm saying it's a testable thing. Again, you keep trying to pivot
Yeah,
to
no, testable.
whether or not like you like my moral framework. My moral framework is irrelevant to whether or not your God exists.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Well, you know what? I got to go, but you've given me a lot of points to think about, and I really appreciate your time.
Okay. Thanks for coming up, bud.
Yep. Have a good day.
Cheers.